Welcome to Rebel Chaser. My name is Gail, and I have a wild clip for you from Judge Webster's courtroom in Kansas. She's got a defendant that is throwing out all kinds of accusations, and then Jill Gillette's throwing them right back at him. He's alleging, well, the court is showing all the delay tactics of this defendant, and he's bringing in Jill Gillette's dating relationship, threats, harassment, stalking, all kinds of stuff. And he wants a change of venue. I'll let you guys watch.
We are on the record okay. We are on the record in 23 CR 157, State of Kansas versus Bradley Smith. No, I'm sorry, strike that. We're on the record in 2023 CR 157, State of Kansas versus Antonio Manuel Perez Bill. Please announce appearances.
May it please the court, the state appears by Jill Gillette, County Attorney.
Richard Paul on behalf of Mr. Perez Bell, who appears via Zoom at a separate location than counsel.
All right, I have some other folks here I want to identify. Joseph Simon, what's your connection to the case?
Judge, there are witnesses that are subpoenaed for today.
So he is a witness, and next to him is?
Sydney Simon, I believe. She's subpoenaed as a witness as well.
Is that Mr. Simon? Is that Sydney Simon beside you?
My wife's next to me.
What's her name?
Kimberly Simon.
Kimberly. Is Sydney there or anywhere to be seen?
I seen her come into the meeting.
Okay. Kimberly. I see someone on an iPhone. Who's on the iPhone? The young lady with the long hair and the black jacket?
I'm Sydney.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Sydney.
Okay, and you've been subpoenaed to be here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are set today for preliminary hearing. This is not the first time we've had a hearing, and I see we've just been joined by Deputy Fisher. I presume he's a witness too.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, this case, the first appearance was August 15th of 23, and the defendant said he was going to hire an attorney at that time. Then September 29th of 23, he said he didn't want a court-appointed attorney. Says he was self-employed, but hadn't filed a 21 or 22 tax return and didn't know how much he made per month. He said he made at least $70,000 reportable income the previous year. So he convinced me not to appoint him an attorney and that he could handle it. Then November 17th of 23, he came in and said he had still not retained counsel. He planned on Marianne Shirley, but had changed his mind and was going to hire someone else. So there's 3 hearings in 23 that he's pretty much said the same thing. I'm hiring an attorney. He came in January 5th of 24, told then presiding Judge Murphin that he was proceeding to hire an attorney. So that's 4 hearings in about 5 months. February 16th of 24, he was in person and with attorney Richard Paul. He had actually hired an attorney, a one who is very familiar to the court, very capable, very qualified, and very diligent for his clients. Then we came back. Then I have a note, February 29th from the clerk, from Missy, says I received a call from Anthony Bill stating Sydney Simon has been driving by his house, honking, liking his Facebook and TikTok posts, and she texted him. Also, he stated she wouldn't give him his kids this week. And Missy told him to call his attorney, that they could consider calling law enforcement about harassment. If he felt like he was being stalked, he could file a PFS. So that brings us up to date, I think. No, we were here April 17th. Let's see. 2 days ago, Missy got a phone call. We weren't here. It was a phone call from the defendant. He wanted a change of venue. Again, he was referred to his attorney. He said his attorney didn't agree with the change of venue. She told him he hired his attorney. If he didn't like the way his attorney was handling the case, he could do it differently. But she did tell him a motion for change of venue needed to be filed. If that was what was going to be pursued, then it would be ruled on. He also asked for the pending case numbers for his other court dates and cases. Apparently he has some not only here in Greenwood, but Elk as well. Now, he says he doesn't think he'll be dealt with fairly, and that Mr. Paul makes a lot of money off Greenwood County appointments. And Miss Shirley has stated that Jill Gillette doesn't like him. And I presume the defendant, says to Missy he has a personal relationship with Jill Gillette's boyfriend, David, and that he, maybe the defendant, remodeled David's house a few years ago. And he knows they have discussed his cases. I presume, and that's all it is, a presumption, he means Miss Gillette and her boyfriend. So let's see. I think the first order of business is a change of venue. I'm denying that, at least at this point, for preliminary hearing. If you're not bound over, you won't need a motion. If you are bound over, you can take that up before the next judge. But I see no reason why we should change venue for preliminary hearing. He also, so are you saying you want to remove Miss Gillette as the prosecutor? Because, tell me why.
I feel like I'm facing unfair judgment,
Okay,
Your Honor.
whoa, yeah, you're right. Go ahead, let's hear you, Mr. Paul.
Judge, I sent an email to court and counsel this morning. I've been in court the last couple of days. Earlier this week, I believe it was Wednesday, when Mr. Perez-Bell called the court, he had asked me to withdraw on those cases, on his case. I believe it comes down to a breakdown in communication. My assistant's been out, so I haven't been able to file that motion, but I'm doing that as an oral motion, Judge. And if you grant that, then I would like to no longer be in the proceedings for today.
Actually, I am going to deny the motion to allow Mr. Paul to withdraw for this hearing. This defendant has been telling me he was going to hire an attorney since August 15th of 23. He's told me that over and over again, and he finally did it, and I'm going to hold him to it, at least for this hearing. We have the witnesses subpoenaed, and we're ready to go. So,
Judge, I would, based on this, I do not feel comfortable going forward for Mr. Perez-Bell.
I would like to speak.
Just hold on, Anthony.
I want to speak. I want to say what I have to say.
He's already told me that he does not want me to do this hearing, and I've reached out to Mr. Anthony. Let me speak.
Mr. Bell, let Mr. Paul speak.
Judge, and when he told me Wednesday, honestly, Judge, I quit working on his case. So because he told me he didn't want me working on his case anymore. So I take my clients at their word, and this isn't some kind of delay tactic. We have had a definite breakdown in communication, Judge. So, if you're keeping me on for today, I know the witnesses have been subpoenaed. I hate to put the county attorney through that, but everybody's appearing by Zoom. Nobody's had to drive to the courthouse, and I would ask for a short continuance to file my motion, have it ruled on formally, and go forward at that point. And if you will not let me off of the case, then I will have adequate time to prepare because basically I was fired Wednesday, Judge.
You were not fired. It was a mutual decision.
Well,
Okay. First of
Yep.
all, Mr. Perez Bell, you are not in charge here. You probably think you are because you've delayed this case so long and kept it from going to even the preliminary hearing.
No, ma'am.
Stop. Do not talk back to me. This has been going on, like I said, since August, and you keep coming in here hearing after hearing after hearing, telling me you're going to get an attorney, telling me you don't want a court-appointed attorney. And
You told me I did not qualify for a court-appointed attorney.
well, you told me you made $70,000 a year.
Do you want me to lie?
Nope. But if you're making $70,000 a year, you can afford your own attorney instead of socking it to the taxpayers, don't you think?
And I hired one. And
All
then
right, then let's go. Why?
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I want a change of venue. I feel like I'm faced unfair judgment. I spoke to Daniel, Miss Gillette's boyfriend, personally at the tire shop. He admitted to them two discussing my case in the privacy of their own home. I have a personal relationship with him. Miss Marianne Shirley told me Miss Gillette does not like me. And from all the cases I'm getting thrown at me afterwards, it ought to show what kind of games are being played here from the state side. Miss Simon has sent two people after me to try and get my butt whooped. One of them's name is Alan Greenwood. The other one's name is Tyler Stafford. She keeps driving by my house harassing me. I made a Facebook post the other day. She's tried logging into my Facebook, my Snapchat. She keeps liking everything on TikTok. She has logged into my
Stop.
Judge, may I address some of the issues, please?
I was getting ready to ask you your opinion. Please do.
Judge, he did remodel Mr. Green's home. Mr. Green has nothing to do with my job. Mr. Beal has been in Mr. Green's shop multiple times demanding that he talk to me about his case. I have instructed Mr. Green when we first started dating, anyone that shows up to your shop and mentions anything that has to do with my job, your response is, I have nothing to do with her job. Mr. Beal has been in there multiple times. Mr. Green's been instructed that Mr. Beal, if he comes in there to tell him, I have nothing to do with her job, you'll have to call her office and deal with her office. I have said that I do not want Mr. Beal to come by the house because I don't feel comfortable with him. Mr. Beal has made numerous posts about the Elk County Sheriff, the Greenwood County Sheriff, myself, and other people on his Facebook. I am aware of them. People screenshot them, show them to me, and make me aware of them. Mr. Beal brought his actions upon himself. I treat him the same as any other defendant. In fact, I have other defendants that have had way more cases in front of me than he has, and in front of the courts. It does not create a personal conflict of interest because I don't know Mr. Beal. I have no relationship with Mr. Beal other than the fact that he remodeled the guy I'm dating's house. With that being said, it has no bearing on this. And that is the only two things that he's been told is that he's not allowed here because of the stuff he's posted on Facebook. There's no social media there is from anyone here. There's no newspaper articles that would require a transfer of venue. Mr. Beal does not understand the intricacies of a change of venue motion nor its requirements. Mr. Paul does understand what a change of venue is required. And a change of venue would not be appropriate in this matter because Mr. Paul's correct. It doesn't meet the requirements of a change of venue. There's no media, there's no bias, there's no anything in the community. And if it goes to jury trial, there's not been enough media to require a change of venue. Defendants don't always know what the exact intricacies of the law are, and they hear of things such as a change of venue and think that it would apply in their case when their lawyer knows the best about the law. I was a defense attorney for years, and I had to deal with the very same issue with my own clients over and over again. And I would tell them the same thing and break down the law for them that a change of venue isn't appropriate. I don't have a personal conflict with Mr. Beal. I really don't have an opinion of him other than what I read in the affidavits that are come before me. And I base my decisions on the affidavits before me and the circumstances regarding each case and the number of cases that are before me when I make agreements, pleas, or decisions for trial. None of that has anything to do with anything personal. I don't know why he keeps saying Mary Ann said something like that, but Miss Shirley's a very qualified attorney, and I don't know what was in their private conversation. At the point that that came up in one of his very first hearings, I hadn't even really discussed him in front of Miss Shirley. Mr. Beal does have a case in Elk County that I did prosecute, and he does have a conviction in that case, and I am aware of that case. But having prior cases with the same defendant does not disqualify a prosecutor.
Yeah, I have.
Daniel got brought out.
Prosecutor, sir, stop.
Daniel got brought out.
Sir,
by
I
my
told you, you
attorney.
do not control this hearing.
I have my freedom of speech.
You
Daniel's
do
name
not
got
have your
brought up.
freedom. Sir, you do not have the right to say anything you want, anytime you want in this court. You will speak when you're asked questions and given the opportunity to speak, but you're not going to just keep interrupting and telling the court what you think. Mr. Paul, your motion to withdraw is granted. Now, what are we going to do about you and your attorney, Mr. Perez Bill? I've been using this excuse that you don't have an attorney for a year now. What are you going to do?
Judge, may I be excused?
You are excused, Mr. Paul. Again, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
I am requesting a continuance so I can hire another attorney. Mr. Paul has given me a name of somebody he recommends. But on the record, Your Honor, Mr. Paul, he is the one who let me know about Daniel, about the attorney, about the county attorney, Mrs. Gillette, and Daniel, her boyfriend, speaking about me in the privacy of their own home. Mr. Paul's the one who brought that to my attention.
Well, I don't know how
Mr. Paul was told to have Mr. Beal stop going into Mr. Green's place of business to discuss the case. Mr. Paul and I talked about that, and he was to relay to Mr. Beal to stay out of Daniel's shop and trying to get information about his case through Mr. Green. Mr. Green nothing to do with this case.
Okay, everybody stop. All right. Let's get this, I'm tempted to make you go to prelim today without an attorney, because you can't just keep coming in here saying, I want a continuance, and not go to the hearing.
Frankly, Judge, if he wants to continue to harass the guy I'm dating, that's intimidation of the county attorney, and it could result in new charges. So he needs to stop trying to go in there and talk to him and have no contact with any member of my family or extended family.
I went in there one time to teach him about our case.
Stop, or I'm going to make you come to court where I can have an officer put you in custody for contempt if you keep interrupting and taking over like you're doing. Now, I've let your attorney off the hook, but I want to know who you're hiring in his place.
I have his name written down on a piece of wood at work. It's an attorney from El Dorado. I was told to, sorry, my phone messed up.
How long is this attorney going to take to get ready for preliminary hearing?
I'm not sure. I asked Mr. Paul if he'd be willing to speak to him and get him up to date on my case, and he said he would. But Mr. Paul told me, let's get through this first.
You actually posted your bond July 9th. You know that? You posted your bond July 9th of 23, You didn't have an attorney enter until January 12th of 24, and now by April 19th of 24, you're back to no attorney again.
I planned on hiring Mrs. Shirley, I think 2 times, and
Why
she
didn't
told me she didn't want to do it.
All right.
Referred me to Mr. Paul. I finally got through to Mr. Paul, but then there's been 3 accounts now that Mr. Paul told me, I'll call you on such and such day. I'll call you on such and such day.
Okay, that's
Never
not helping any. That's not helping me any. I want to know who you're hiring, when you're hiring them, and when I can set this for real hearing.
I don't know the name of the guy off the top of my head, but he's out of El Dorado.
Where's
And
his
I have
office?
to speak.
Where's his office located?
I don't know. I told you I have his name and number written down at work.
Oh, you've never talked to him.
No, last time I spoke to Mr. Paul, he referred me to him, and I believe that was maybe 2 days ago, and it's written down at work. I was on the job when I got his name and number. But Mr. Paul said, let's get through this first before I hire another attorney.
Get through what? The withdrawal?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss
Hey,
Gillette?
son, go play for a minute.
What?
Would you go play for a minute? I'll be right there, okay?
Miss Gillette, how long would it take you? How soon can you get these witnesses back for prelim again?
Judge, if you're going to continue their subpoenas and require they be at the next date and give the date today so that they know when it is, then we can do it at their availability. I know that some of them have taken off work to be present or maybe at
Well,
work.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm really inclined to just go ahead and do the preliminary hearing. Because he's had so many times to have an attorney here, and he had one and he got rid of him.
If we're going to
It was
continue
a
it,
mutual decision.
if we're going to continue it, I would ask for approximately 30 days because, again, I have to send them new subpoenas, Judge.
I
But if
can't
they know
afford to
that,
be bound, like you said, under their existing subpoenas.
yeah, and we know where they are. I mean, it's not like they're moving around. They're all in the area. The Sydney Simon is was his significant other. I know there's a divorce that's been pending or maybe granted.
Is she the alleged victim?
Actually, Mr. Simon's one of the alleged victims.
Now, what do you think about just doing the prelim today without an attorney, since he's had so many opportunities?
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to Ms. Gillette.
Okay, sir.
Judge, if we go through with the prelim today, I just don't know how Mr. Beal will know the intricacies of the law in questioning witnesses and allowing questions and testimony.
Thank you. Solid year you've had, and how do I know this is going to be any different than all the other times?
Because I don't have much choice here. My future's at stake.
That was
Right is right and wrong is wrong, Your Honor. When I read through the discovery that Mr. Paul granted me, Joe, Kim, and Sydney, and Miss Officer Fisher, all 3 of them lied. Right is right and wrong is wrong, and I want a proper chance to defend myself.
Judge, perhaps we should set a PHC date on April 26th, 1 week from today, to see what progress he has to hiring an attorney. And that way we keep on the short stick of getting a new attorney for him on board. And then we can set a preliminary hearing control or actual prelim with that attorney present.
I'm not sure that'll give me enough time to gather funds to hire the attorney. I will speak to him today, see what it's going to cost.
Well, you should get a refund of any money that you didn't use from Mr. Paul, I'm sure. I don't know what your contract was. I'm going to set this over for 1 week. Be back here by Zoom at 1:30 with your attorney, and I want you live in the courthouse. Not in your car, not at your job, live in the Greenwood County Courthouse. Now, if you have
Your
an
Honor,
attorney, if you have an attorney and he wants to appear by Zoom, he can do so. But I want you in the courthouse. Now,
and that would be live in court in front of you.
I'll be in the courthouse. Now then, to the witnesses, you do not have to be back here. That's not going to be that type of hearing. But if you want to, you're certainly welcome to be either on the Zoom call like we're doing now, or watch by YouTube or whatever you and Miss Gillette work out. But we need to get it resolved one way or another, we will.
I want to get this done and behind me. But the
Yeah,
truth's the
well,
truth, Your Honor. I'm facing a lot of unfair judgment. Lies been told on that. When I read that discovery, it's nothing but a
Mr.
lie.
Lewis, or Mr. Jones, we're gonna have a real problem. I'm sorry, a Perez bill. Yes, I know who it is.
Hold on.
Mr. Perez Bial, you and I need to have an understanding that there are certain times defendants speak, there are certain times prosecutors speak, there are certain times witnesses speak, and there are certain times judges speak. All of our conversations are recorded and they are subject to being typed up into records by court reporters. If we're all talking at once, that reporter is not going to have a very good time trying to type the transcript. So in the future, control your urge to burst out, because we're not going to keep doing that.
There's nobody more frustrated than an innocent man.
Well, you may be innocent, but you're still going to follow the court rules.
Yes, ma'am.
Guilty, you're going to follow the rules and the procedures. So, all right. We'll be in recess.
Your Honor,
What?
may I say something, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
1 week is not going to give me time to acquire the funds to hire this attorney.
You could afford Mr. Paul, but you cannot afford another attorney?
It's not going to give me time to gather the funds to hire a new attorney.
All right. Missy, see if William McClendon can take an appointment. I'm going to appoint an attorney. You don't have to use him, but he better be here and better be ready to go. Where did the defendant go? Is he Samsung?
Yes, he is.
Okay, Mr. Perez Bial, you need to turn your screen on. I can't give you credit for being in court if you don't come to court and stay at court until your turn is over. Mr. Perez, I'm going to have to issue a warrant for your arrest if you do not join us, Mr. Perez. And he's gone.
I'm guessing he lost signal.
You think he lost signal, or he just didn't like what he was hearing? or is it even fair to guess? I don't know.
He's had bad connections before, Judge. I make notes when there's technical issues in his different files over his different cases.
Missy, appoint Mr.
Okay, I just got a message from the clerk's office. He just called and said his phone died.
Well, he must have gotten it back if he called the clerk's office. Must not have been totally dead.
He's trying to download Zoom on a different device.
All right. How behind are we getting because we could have had the hearing over by now. We'll be in recess on Perez Bial.
I think this man left because he needs to regain control. He's a control freak, and he had to do something to get back his control and to delay further. So once he heard the judge say there'll be a warrant out for your arrest, then he's scrambling to come back. And he does come back. I'll let you guys watch the rest.
That means Joseph and Sydney, you guys can go.
They can stay if they want to, though.
Okay, they can stay if they want. All right.
I apologize, Your Honor. My phone died.
Okay, well, that's another good reason why if you're at the courthouse, you won't have to worry about that. I was getting close to revoking your bond, thinking you'd bailed intentionally, but you haven't. So I'll continue your bond with all existing conditions. I'm appointing Attorney William McClendon if he can take the case. If not, Missy maybe can find someone else. And we're going to have this April 27 at 1:30 for your next hearing. If you can hire another attorney, you're welcome to do it. Anything else? No contact with any witnesses or victims, and the victims and witnesses better not have any contact with him either.
Judge, did you say you were going to appoint William McClendon, but he may have to pay for his services?
That's what I said. And stay away as a condition of your bond. Stay away from Daniel. What's the last name, Miss Gillette?
Mr. Green, Your Honor.
Stay away from Daniel Green, his shop, his home, wherever he may be.
I do business there.
Well, you're going to probably have to do business somewhere else. What kind of business do you do there?
Tires.
He's the manager.
Tires
He's the
left and right.
manager. He's the manager of the Severy Co-op tire shop.
Is there no other tire shop that you can go to?
That's where my account is.
Now I know there are tire stores in Eureka, and they're not very far from there.
I understand that, but as many tires as I go through in my line of work, I have a charge account there. If I have a tire blowout on a trailer or a truck, I either go in or help goes in, gets it taken care of.
Well, Mr. Perez Beal, for now, you're going to have to do something.
Or somebody else.
What?
He could send one
I
of
can
his
deal with somebody
helpers.
else's tire shop. I can deal with his brother or the help. But please don't make this any more difficult than it already has been.
Sir, I haven't made this anything. I'm the one that's upset that it's taking so long to get it resolved. But I'm telling you to stay away from that gentleman and work something else out. You know, you're not the first person that's been in this bind and had to have no contact orders, even though they were inconvenient. And stay away from Miss Gillette and her office. You go through your attorney. Your attorney wouldn't want you down there talking to them and calling them either. So make sure you understand my rules and you follow them, or you can sit in jail until we get through this.
Can I still deal with the place of business, just not Daniel?
Can you not talk about your case with any of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Gillette, what's your response to that? I don't know if these people want him in their shop. Maybe they do.
I've been friends with him a long time.
If he stops through there and he deals with either Luke or one of the other guys, I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you.
But no discussing his case, no discussing my job. My job is my job. My personal life is my personal life. And I have explained that to Mr. Green when we first started dating. My ex-husband was an attorney and understood that, but my current person I'm dating is not legal, does not understand the legal process.
Okay. Now, Mr. Perez Bill, I hope you understand enough of the process to follow the terms of your bond so you don't have to get locked back up. And if this young lady or somebody's calling him, I'm going to tell you to stop it. Nothing good can come of that. So you two have children in common?
Yes, ma'am. We have 3.
Okay, but you're going through someone else to exchange them for visits?
For the longest time, we were going through the babysitter who she filed a PFA against
That's
me.
right. The babysitter got a PFA too, didn't she?
Yeah, how does that work? I show up to get my children on a day when I was supposed to get them. My ex-wife decided to keep the children from me, and I take pride in being a dad. I love being a dad. And there's been nothing but games played with my children left and right ever since. I was supposed to get them this past Tuesday. I didn't get them I didn't get the older two until yesterday.
Need to take that up in another court. That's not part of this case. So at this time, we'll be in recess. You can go if you can follow the rules of the bond. If you can't, tell me now.
I can. So we are April 27th at 1:30.
No,
Will you be giving?
I wrote down April 26th. Missy, which is it?
It is April 26th, and that's Friday, next Friday at 1:30.
Will I get information about this attorney you have appointed?
Missy, why don't you give him his name and number?
Can I email it to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you use the BD Construction email?
Yes.
Thank you, Missy.
All right. In fact, I'm just going to make it a blanket that you stay away from all the judicial staff except for your attorney, unless you are doing business, essential business. Because Missy doesn't need to be dragged into any of these phone calls, even taking messages. All right, so we're in recess. You all may go.
I'm surprised the judge let him go on as long as she did and let him disrupt the court as many times as she allowed him to do. But maybe because it's on Zoom, she felt like she didn't have a way to really stop him, but she should have way sooner, because the guy is a control freak. He was trying to control the hearing. He wants to control Jill Gillette through her boyfriend. He goes to her boyfriend and starts talking about the case, trying to get him to get her to drop it, And he's a control freak. So anyway, he couldn't control his attorney, so he wants a different attorney. And the whole delay is all on him. So he's the one that's doing it all. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.